Okay, Chair, we're now live.
Good evening and welcome to this Cabinet meeting on the 10th of December 2020. This is a virtual meeting, so it's going to be live streamed as a public meeting. It will also be recorded and the recording subsequently made available via the Council's website. In addition, under the Local Authority Executive Arrangements, Meetings and Access to Information England Regulation 2012, other people may film, record, tweet or blog from this meeting. The use of any such images or recordings is not under the Council's control. Please note that members of the public viewing the meeting via live stream can only see the person who is speaking, and also that it takes a second or two for Zoom to switch between views. So if I could just ask anyone who's speaking just to pause slightly before they start to allow the system to switch over. Participants should also ensure that their microphone is muted when they are not speaking, so it's not disturbing the speakers. So first off, I'm going to confirm who's actually in the meeting itself, and I'm going to ask each member to confirm verbally that they are present and that they can see and hear the proceedings. So I can obviously hear and see the proceedings. Councillor Barclay.
Good evening, Leader. I can see and hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Bailey.
Good evening, Leader. I can see and hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Boker. I think you may be our first mute of the evening, Councillor Boker.
Sorry, Leader. I can see and hear.
Thank you very much. I was almost going to ask for Councillor Biker instead, but we'll stick with Councillor Boker. Councillor Harper Davies.
Good evening, Leader. I can see and hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mercer.
Good evening, Leader. I can hear and see the proceedings.
Welcome, Councillor. Councillor Poland.
I can also see and hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ratway.
Evening, Leader. Yes, I can see and hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Rawlings.
I can see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And finally, Councillor Smitovich.
Evening, Leader. I can both see and hear the proceedings.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's a full house. So I'm now going to ask the officers present whether they can also confirm verbally that they are present and that they can see and hear the proceedings. Start with Rob Mitchell, our Chief Executive.
Good evening, Leader. Yes, I can see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much. Simon Jackson, our Strategic Director, Environment and Corporate Services and Section 151 Officer.
Thank you, Leader. I can both see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Simon. Adrian Ward, our Head of Strategic Support and Monitoring Officer.
Thank you, Leader. I can see and hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Justin Henry, a Strategic Director, Commercial Development, Assets and Leisure.
Thank you, Leader. I can both see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Justin. Then we go on to Richard Bennett, who's our Head of Planning and Regeneration.
Good evening, Leader. I can both see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Richard. Alison Simmons, Head of Strategic and Private Sector Housing.
Good evening, Leader. I can hear and see proceedings.
Thank you very much, Alison. Leslie Tansey, Head of Financial Services.
Thank you, Leader. I can hear and see the proceedings.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Steve Dibner, Head of Generation and Economic Development Officer.
Good evening, Leader. I can hear and see the proceedings.
Thank you very much, Steve. Suzanne Kinder, who's our Corporate Improvement and Policy Officer.
Good evening, Leader. I can see and hear the proceedings.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Suzanne. Matt, you're looking after us for IT. I can assume, hopefully, that you can see and hear us.
Indeed, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Karen Widdowson, our Democratic Services Manager.
Thank you, Leader. I can see and hear proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. And then finally, Laura, keeping us all in check, who's our Democratic Services Officer and looking after our meeting this evening. Laura, good evening.
Hello, Leader. Yes, thank you. I can see and hear. Can I also add that we have Eileen Mallon, who's our Strategic Director, Community Planning and Housing, with us here this evening.
You do. Apologies. I managed to miss Eileen out from the list. Apologies.
No, Leader, you didn't miss it. Sorry, you didn't miss her. It was my fault. I hadn't put her on the list. So.
Leader, good evening. I can see and hear the proceedings. Thank you.
Eileen, a very, very big welcome to you. And then finally, our Chair of Scrutiny Commission, Councillor Seaton. Good evening.
Good evening. I can see and hear the proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, we're now on to item 1 of the meeting, which is apologies. We have no apologies received and everyone is present. So we move on to item 2, which is disclosures of pecuniary and personal interests. I understand, Councillor Ratway, you have an item that you wish to raise.
Yeah, it's item 13. It's the delegated decision, the DD 174. I've got a personal interest in that one, so I'll be stepping away from the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. And I'll also, irrelevant to item 7, I'll make note of the fact that I'm a trustee of a trust that owns a property in Leamington Ward. It's not a pecuniary interest because I don't receive any income from it. I'm not a landlord, but just referring to the fact that it is disclosed on my disclosure forms, which are lodged on our website. So with that, we're going to move to item 3, which is the leader's announcement. There are no items to raise, so we move on to item 4, which is minutes of the previous meeting. So first off, Councillor Mercer, I know you noted that we've received a huge number of views from our last council meeting. Can you tell me how many views we actually received?
Well, Leader, I was quite surprised that we'd actually received 113 views for the last Cabinet meeting on YouTube, which shows what an exciting evening we have on Cabinet. Sadly, the Charnwood video of the Outwards new sewage tank has only managed 8 views. So hopefully everybody will be able to have a look at that, having given it a plug.
Okay. Maybe we should contain a link from this meeting and see whether anyone else picks up on the link. Thank you very much for that. That's, I mean, it is genuinely good news because it does mean that you know, people have the option of actually looking at these meetings, even if they can't actually join us in the chamber. Normally, we don't have a huge audience. It's safe to say in person, but obviously we're now getting a bit more of an audience via the live stream and the recording. So that's very, very good to see. And I don't know actually whether it's possible to actually make a record of how many people potentially have actually viewed these meetings. It might be interesting to actually keep a tally in future, just to give us a clue as to what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. So look, let's go on to the minutes. I'm going to ask each of you verbally to say that you're content to approve the minutes of the previous meeting of Cabinet. So first off, I'm content with those meetings, with the minutes, sorry. Councillor Barclay.
I'm content with the minutes, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey.
Leader, I am content with the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Boker.
Happy with the minutes, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harper-Davies.
Happy with the minutes, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mercer.
Happy with the minutes, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Poland.
Yeah, I'm also happy with them.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ratway.
Yes, happy with the minutes, Leader.
Okay, Councillor Rawlings.
Leader, I'm happy with the minutes.
Thank you very much. And then finally, Councillor Spinovich.
Yes, happy with the minutes, Leader.
Thank you very much. That's 10 out of 10. So those are approved. So thank you very much. We now move on to item 5, question under Cabinet Procedure 10.7. No questions have been submitted. So we now move on to item 6, which is the 5-year housing land supply recommendation of Scrutiny Commission. So Councillor Seaton, you're here on behalf of Scrutiny Commission as its chair. And I'm going to ask you whether you wish to move the recommendation and the report. And then we can ask any questions of clarification to you before raising any questions that we may have with Richard Bennett for any discussion.
Okay, yes, I want to move the recommendations, and the reason for the Scrutiny Commission to the Cabinet was that the parish councils which have adopted the neighbourhood plans are informed of the implications of the 5-year housing land supply update in relation to their potential development applications in their areas. The reason for this is to ensure that parish councils are kept informed, don't interrupt, informed, and the implications of the housing land supply on existing neighbourhood plans. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Seaton. So are there any questions of clarity that anyone wishes to ask Councillor Seaton? All right, I can't see any hands going up. So thank you very much, Councillor. We have Richard Bennett here, who has an opportunity to answer any questions that anyone wishes to raise. Councillor Bailey, can I ask you to make any comments on this item before we open any discussions?
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Welcome the report from the Scrutiny Commission. We have already communicated out to all parish councils and town councils with regards to our 5-year supply, but have noted the fact that you'd like us to make sure that those with neighbourhood plans are fully aware of every implication that may cause. So thank you very much for bringing this report to us.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions anyone wants to raise? Councillor Poland, do you have a question?
Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to add, I mean, there's 8 parish and town councils in my 2 hats, and I know the work that goes into preparing the neighbourhood plans. And appreciate it. We communicate with the parish councils, and there's always quite a close relationship between the neighbourhood groups and the parish councils, but often they're not always the same people. So just sort of dotting the i's and crossing the t's and all of that is sensible for such a major change. So yes.
Okay, Councillor Poland, your microphone is causing a few problems, so you might need to put on a headset. Okay, but I think we picked up most of that. Are there any other further questions? Can I just ask a quick question of Richard Bennett? Can you just confirm the information that Councillor Bailey just referenced? Is there more information that can be given to parishes, or has all the information been given to them already?
Yes, Leader. So as Councillor Bailey says, we wrote out to parish councils to explain the change in our 5-year supply position following the core strategy becoming 5 years old, which was the 9th of November. What we were looking to do was a further write out to parish councils to explain what the implications of that were for the those parishes with neighbourhood plans that were already made or that had plans which were coming forward. The scrutiny process very helpfully looked at that, and we have therefore agreed to do some meetings with parish councils so that they can raise any questions or concerns they've got about our current position, and we're looking to do that in January, perhaps around about the 19th or 20th of January. So hopefully that will be helpful to those parish councils that are trying to come to terms with this new position.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Richard. So, okay, we have no further questions. Can I ask Councillor Bailey, can you please make the officer's recommendation, which is on the agenda, page 13?
Thank you, Leader. I move that the officers do note that we will write to parish councils with made neighbourhood plans and those preparing plans to explain the implications of the 5-year supply.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Barclay, would you like to second?
Yep, happy to second that, Leader.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm now...
Sorry to interrupt, Leader. Can I just confirm that's for the reasons set out under the officer recommendation, please?
Councillor Bailey.
Yes, apologies there, Laura. Yes,
thank you.
as set out in the report.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask each of you now to vote on this item. If you can state whether you're for the proposal or otherwise. So I'm going to start by saying I'm for the proposal. Councillor Barclay.
For the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
For the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Boker.
For.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
For.
Councillor Mercer.
For the proposal.
Councillor Poland.
For the proposal, Leader.
That's nice and clear now. Councillor Ratway.
For the proposal.
Councillor Rollings.
For the proposal, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Smitovich.
And again, for the proposal, Leader.
Okay, thank you very much. There was a dramatic pause there, Councillor.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So that's 10 out of 10. So that item is confirmed. Thank you very much. So we now move on to item 8, which is the Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Strategy for 2020 to 2024. This was also looked at the Scrutiny
Sorry,
Commission.
Leader, I thought we're on 7.
Apologies. Sorry, that's my fault. It's going to be one of those evenings, isn't it? So apologies. This is not Laura's fault this time. This is definitely my fault. So item 7, discretionary private sector housing licensing scheme, which also received a Scrutiny Commission report. Scrutiny Commission was very busy this week. So Councillor Seaton, I'm going to ask you to present the Scrutiny Commission's report, and then any questions of clarity that can be raised by councillors with Councillor Seaton before we move on to a brief outline from Councillor Mercer and then any questions to be answered by Alison Simmons. So Councillor Seaton, if I can ask you to present the Scrutiny Commission's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. The meeting discussion centred around the risk register within the report that highlighted all potential risks identifying the implementing of the proposed schemes. However, the Commission was informed that the consultation exercise had been developed, ensuring that statutory guidance and recent case law implications had all been considered in the planning and consultation process. The discretionary private sector licensing schemes would be cost neutral, and a staggered recruitment approach would be taken to ensure that the resources available reflected the size of the scheme. And if approved, the scheme would be reviewed after 5 years. Officers also explained that the additional licensing scheme would focus on HMO properties that were not covered by the HMO mandatory scheme, and that the selective licensing scheme being sought would cover all the rented property within the specified areas of Hastings and Leamington wards. That would not be included within the mandatory or proposed additional licensing scheme. Although there were a number of high-risk categories, it was considered that implementing the proposed scheme would be beneficial to improve the standards and the management of accommodation within the borough and the specified areas. Therefore, the Commission, having carefully considered and asked questions on the report, felt that the Cabinet should approve the recommendations as set out. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Are there any questions of clarity that anyone wishes to ask Councillor Seaton? Councillor Mercer.
Thank you, Leader. Just to clarify, during the meeting, members drew attention to the risks which are outlined on pages 5 and 6 of the report. And I just wanted to clarify, the risk is not that there will be a successful legal challenge, but on previous experience that there might be an attempt to make a challenge. And this is one of the reasons why we've been meticulous in this report, in this project, in ensuring first that we collated more than the necessary evidence that was required to justify these two schemes. Secondly, that the whole exercise was done absolutely in accordance with the law and the regulations. And thirdly, that the consultation exercise was more than comprehensive. And could I also say, Leader, that it was a pleasant experience at a scrutiny meeting to actually be asked searching questions by members who clearly Councillor Seaton had made them read the report before the meeting.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mercer. Councillor Seaton, is there anything you wish to add on that one, or are you quite happy just to take that as noted?
I was waiting for the question, but thank you very much for the statement. No, I think there was a lot of query about the risk, and we hadn't seen that much read in a council paper before, but we were assured that those risks would be sort of nullified when the process goes through. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, so we're now going to move on to the, sorry, are there any other points of clarification that anyone wishes to raise?
Yes, Councillor Morgan.
Okay, Councillor Smitteridge.
Just the point on the risk. I don't know whether it was looked at, but what is the risk of not doing it?
Well, if we'll come to that as part of the main debate, if that's okay, because I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
probably a good question for the main debate. Okay, that's great. So no other further points of clarity, so that's fine. So we're now going to ask Councillor Mercer to briefly outline the paper before opening up for any questions and debate, including Alison Simmons. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Well, I'm proud to present this proposal to Cabinet, which has taken so long to get to this stage. And it was, of course, one of the key manifesto commitments in 2019 in the last local elections. Like many members, I was a little bit skeptical when this idea was first suggested. But having seen at first hand the extent to which a small minority of landlords do act irresponsibly and in some cases illegally, such that tenants' lives are often put in danger, I'm absolutely convinced that some form of regulation is necessary. So just very two brief points. First of all, the consultation exercise was a resounding success. And there's been an overwhelming number of respondents who supported both of the schemes. And this was despite a national landlord's website urging its followers to do their own submissions to the consultation, even though many of them probably had nothing to do with Charnwood. And secondly, the landlords do say, well, what about the cost of this? We're going to have to pass it on to our tenants. Well, the reality, Leader, is that for most landlords, it probably will only represent 2% of their total income over that 5 years. And therefore, it's a very small price to pay to ensure that the tenants in Charnwood enjoy safe and secure conditions in their HMOs, or in the case of Hastings and Leamington Ward, in all of the rented property. And on that basis, I'd like to commend the report to Cabinet.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. So we're now open for any questions that anyone wishes to raise. So Councillor Smitherich, would you like to raise anything?
Well, it was just the fact that the risk of not doing licensing is equally of concern and very high risk, as we've already seen that there have been problems and they have resulted in very serious fines. And this is not just in Charnwood, but nationally. So, I mean, there's been, the need is such that there have been some 75 boroughs at least have now found the benefits of doing licensing. I know there were concerns in the report raised that there'll be a shortage of bed space and people will sell up because they won't want to keep the properties going. But I mean, even prior to the research we've undertaken recently through Alison Simmons, the extra research we've done, there were already 2,000 empty bed spaces. So there's not a shortage of bed spaces. And I mean, if anybody did want to challenge, there's a complete thesis of the work. And I mean, I'm proud to say that Charnwood Borough Council's research into why we needed, what the impact of HMOs was on Charnwood, is unique to the country. And we've been expressing that right from the beginning. No other borough has done the work that we've done to prove the point. So if anybody does feel that they want to challenge, then we've got a rather large thesis to back up all the additional research that we've done. So I have no qualms about it. And to use the expression, bring it on. If anybody feels like challenging, we've got the ammunition to fight back. So that's all I'd like to say, Leader.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Boker.
I just want to say, Leader, that I think this is very good news for all the tenants in the borough, and that it makes sure that even more so we have a standard that all landlords have to comply with, and I think it's excellent news.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Harper-Davies.
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to say thank you to Margaret, because obviously Margaret is sort of all the work that it has taken and the support behind and the belief and passion that Margaret's put into this. I appreciate the portfolio's changed and it's Councillor Mercer's now, but I think seeing it has taken a long time. It seems to have been endless, the time in the reports that we've had. I'd just like to put it on record to say thank you to Councillor Smidovic for the work in the first instance and along the journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Okay, thank you very much. So as far as any questions to Alison, Alison, can I ask you a question? Obviously, there's still a fair amount to do in the sense of the sort of further submissions, etc. When, if everything goes to plan and we're not challenged and we're able to actually do what we want to do, realistically, when are we going to be able to actually get the schemes up and running? What's the target date?
The target date for implementation for both schemes is hopefully April. With the selective scheme, we have to get Secretary of State approval. So once we've had the call in from Cabinet, I can obviously start that process of submitting the information. And hopefully if we get that within the 8-week period, we will still be able to start both schemes at the same time. In between that, we will also be doing some consultation on the licence conditions, because the first sort of consultation asked what people thought should be in the conditions. This is now draft conditions which are attached to the report, which we're going to do another further 6-week consultation before we implement the scheme. And unless there's any major changes, they will go as they are. But if there are any changes that we need to make, we will be bringing that back to Cabinet with the aim still to launch in April.
Okay, that's great. That's good news. Okay, thank you very much for that. Any other questions that anyone wishes to raise? No. In which case, can I ask Councillor Mercer to make the recommendation?
Thank you, Leader. I'd like to recommend that Cabinet note the outcome of the discretionary private sector housing licensing consultation exercise, that Cabinet approves the proposal to declare Cheltenham Borough as an area of additional licensing to be implemented from April 2021, that Cabinet approves the proposal to declare the 2 wards of Hastings and Leamington an area for selective licensing to be implemented following approval from the Secretary of State, that Cabinet approves the proposed draft licensing conditions for both schemes attached as Appendix 1 and for a consultation exercise to be undertaken for a period of 6 weeks from the 18th of January to the 26th of February 2021, and finally to approve an initial budget of £65,000 to set up the 2 schemes and commence recruitment of staff to deliver the 2 licensing schemes until the licence fees are received, and for the reasons set out in this report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Smidovic, can I ask you to second?
Yes, you may, and I am absolutely delighted to second this proposal.
I thought that might be the case. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm now going to ask the Cabinet whether they can say that they're for the proposal or otherwise. So I'm going to start off by saying that I am for the proposal. Councillor Berkeley.
For the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
For the proposal, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Harper-Davies.
For the proposal, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mercer.
For the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Poland.
Yeah, I'm for the proposal, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Poland. Councillor Ratway.
For the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rollins.
For the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. And then finally, you've probably got second thoughts about this, Councillor Smidovic, but Councillor Smidovic.
They're definitely for the proposal.
You surprised me. Thank you very much. Okay, that's 10 out of 10. So that's approved. Thank you very much. Okay, we now are going on to item 8, which is the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Strategy. Apologies for giving Suzanne a slight heart attack earlier on when she thought suddenly I was coming to her early. This is the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Strategy for 2020-2024. It does include a Scrutiny Commission report. So I'm going to start off by asking Councillor Seaton to present the Scrutiny Commission report, and then there'll be an opportunity to ask any questions of clarity of Councillor Seaton before we move on to the main discussion. Councillor Seaton.
Thank you, Leader. Consultation with residents had taken place in the form of a residents' survey in autumn 2019, which informed development of the Corporate Strategy 2024. This survey covered a range of questions, which included residents' feedback on equalities and equalities, it says here, monitoring training. The responses received for this and other consultation exercises has been used to identify the priority equality objectives and inform development of the EDI Strategy 2024. Due to no significant changes in the Equality Act 2010, the development of the EDI Strategy 2024 has been strengthened to reflect recent legislation such as Gender Pay Gap, Modern Slavery Act, as well as external environmental factors such as Black Lives Matter movement and the LGBT issues. The Council regularly participated in the Leicestershire Equalities Forum, and this provided the opportunity to ensure EDI strategies and actions were aligned to those of the neighbouring authorities, whilst providing opportunities to monitor outcomes in partnership settings. Therefore, the Commission felt that the Cabinet should approve the recommendations as set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Season. Are there any questions of clarity that anyone wishes to raise with Councillor Season? No, there aren't. So thank you very much, Councillor. So we now have the opportunity to debate and ask any questions. Can I ask Councillor Harper-Davies whether you could say a few words as introduction?
Thank you, Leader. And can I just say thank you to Scrutiny Commission as well for reviewing the report on Monday. So I'm very pleased to put before Cabinet the revised Council's Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Strategy, last reviewed 4 years ago. This strategy describes how we aim to continue our work to make Charnwood a place where equality is at the fore. Charnwood Council is required to produce an EDI strategy to evidence how it is meeting its statutory duties regarding equality, diversity and inclusion. This revised strategy builds upon each of those and also strengthens the Council's existing approach to equality, diversity and inclusion, meeting needs of our staff and, of course, our residents. The last strategy was approved 4 years ago, and we are required by law to keep this updated, hence the report coming before Cabinet this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions that anyone wishes to ask Suzanne? I have to say at this point, this will be the last opportunity that anyone has to ask questions of Suzanne, because she's leaving us, I think, in the new year. So Suzanne, from all of Cabinet, thank you very much for this report particularly, but also thank you very much for everything that you've done for Charnwood over the years that you've been with us. So it has been extraordinarily, we're grateful for everything you've been able to do. I can't see any hands up, so I have to say yet again, you put together a really good report, which speaks for itself, which is great, and it gives us an opportunity to hopefully approve this without any changes or anything else. So I'm going to go back to Lee at this point, unless Suzanne, there's anything you wish to say. I'm going to give you a last opportunity.
No, everything's been said, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to go back to Councillor Harper-Davies now to make the recommendation.
Thank you, Leader. So the report and the recommendation is this evening for Cabinet to decide upon is that the Council's Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Strategy 2020 to 2024 and associated Quality Action Plan. So I've just been joined by the cat on the knee. Associated with the Quality Action Plan, which is inclusive in the reports attached as an annex. And the reason is to enable a strategy which seeks to improve the organisation, promotes equality in all services delivered by Charnwood Borough Council, and how it employs and manages our staff, and to assist the Council's meeting its corporate objective to meet its customers' need to be approved following the public consultation. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harper-Davies. Councillor Boker, would you like to second?
Yes, Leader, I'd like to second this item.
Thank you very much. Okay, the item has been proposed and seconded. So I'm now going to ask everyone whether they are for the proposal. So I'm going to start off by saying I am for the proposal. Councillor Barclay.
For the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Leader. For the proposal.
Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
I'm for the proposal.
Councillor Mercer.
For the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Poland.
I'm for the proposal, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Ratway.
I'm for the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rawlings.
For the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Smitovich.
For the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. That's 10 out of 10 again. So that item is approved. So thank you very much again, Suzanne. Good luck.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Okay, we're now on to item 9, which is the draft general fund and HRA budgets for 2021-2022. We have Leslie Tansey, is our head of financial services, with us to assist with the report. But I'm now going to go over to Councillor Barclay and ask whether you can actually make a few opening comments before we move on to the discussion.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, so this is the draft budget for next year, 21-22, which is out for consultation until February. The head of finance has done a really good job on this in very, very challenging times. There will be some hangover from COVID pressures next year, which has caused us to use £1.4 million worth of reserves, not totally down to COVID. There are other savings to be made, but within this budget, there is £2 million worth of savings. They're also almost counterbalanced by equal pressures, but it's quite an achievement to do that. We've also had to deal with the increase in housing benefit demands of somewhere in the region of 845,000. We still await the settlement from the government, which we're hoping is next week, and there are uncertainties around that, but a really good job done by the team. And I'll just hand it over to Leslie, if I may, for any other comments.
Well, thank you, Councillor Barclay. There isn't really anything more to add to that, only just one minor change to paragraph 25 on the Loughborough special. There's two pressure items, one for the street trading consents, which is a COVID related pressure, that is a one-off item, and the Carillion Tower loss of income 3,000, that is a one-off item, not ongoing, that's actually in the report. So all the COVID related pressures that are tabled are all one-off items for next year, subject to a review. We will be bringing the final budget report back to Cabinet after the consultation period and after the settlement next week, and that the final report will come to Cabinet on the 11th of February. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Leslie, can I start off by asking you a quick question? So obviously, as Councillor Barclay's outlined, I know that this has been quite a significant piece of work to actually put together this budget, and obviously quite a challenging piece of work. In the last couple of weeks, we've obviously had news about the vaccination program and the likely rollout of the vaccines over the next 3 months. With an expectation, I think that many of the restrictions that are currently in place can actually start to be lifted from the spring onwards towards the summer. How much of that will have an impact on our budget? Because I'm assuming that we probably assumed a slightly, I think all of us were taken aback by the speed of the vaccination program. So I'm assuming that we probably assumed a slightly longer period before we were able to actually start running services or things like the town hall, etc., for income. That we assume that probably that was going to take slightly longer to recover. What will the impact be on our budget?
I'd like to just say that on Appendix 1, the commercialisation rental income, we've actually increased that to 650,000. That does include an element of the vaccination income that we receive from the NHS. I'd like to ask if Justin or Simon has got any comment on the vaccination in terms of start dates or anything else they want to add to that question. Simon's got his hand up.
if I may, Leader, just to add on that, yes, certainly we've got some specific income from the vaccination centre, as Leslie mentioned, so we have reflected that in the budget. In terms of other things, we had some initial set of assumptions around how the services would come back over the period into next year. So we've got assumptions around car parking, for example, which assumes 85% of the pre-COVID car parking income we would achieve. And we will assume that we will be running the pantomime next year. So this time next year, obviously, we very much hope that the pantomime will be in full swing, for example. Some of the things are directly COVID related, so the pantomime would be one. Some things like car parking, even if things are back to normal, it's very difficult to assess whether habits such as online shopping will continue or whether people will start coming back into the town to a much greater extent. So I think overall, the vaccine and the speed of rollout is obviously good news for us. We haven't, in fairness, changed our income assumptions particularly to reflect that. And I think, in fairness, our income assumptions are very, very difficult to get at anyway, and there's probably quite a wide margin of error. So we haven't particularly got anything to base a revised assessment on over and above what we've put in already, although obviously the vaccine coming at the speed it is clearly good news. And as and when we get more information, and potentially after Christmas, when we can maybe have a clearer idea about the speed of the rollout, and hopefully by sort of the end of January, we might find that 1 million or 2 million people across the country have been vaccinated. We can then maybe revisit the assumptions we have and reflect those in the revised budget.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That's quite helpful. I saw the chief exec's hand go up. I don't know whether that was sorting a fly or whether he actually wanted to say anything.
I was going to come in, Leader, but actually Simon's final point there covered what I was going to say, which is that we'll review the predictions again, I think, in the new year when we've got slightly more information from which to work. And obviously we'll then hopefully be able to set out in a bit more detail when we think the town hall and other income generating services might reopen, at what speed, and recalculate the income we might generate from them. And that may, if we're fortunate, have a positive impact on our budget predictions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Barclay, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. It's really a question for Leslie and Simon. I've already made just sort of reference to the work that's been done to identify £2.1 million worth of savings. I can't underestimate how much effort's gone into that. It has been counterbalanced by COVID pressures, and all the pressures are outlined on the report. Leslie, would it be true to say that you couldn't underestimate the importance of financial settlement due next week, and that the main issue is regarding the level of new homes bonus we get, but despite £650,000 worth of additional commercial income next year and the savings of 2.1 million, that we still, as it stands, have to find another £1.4 million worth of savings within 12 months to enable us to maintain the minimum balances that require in reserves of 2 million. And I just, between one other thing I'd like to say is, could you just sort of make note of or comment on the fact that the need to provide additional housing benefit of 865,000, which was normally met by central government, what sort of impact and hope have we got from the future of actually rebalancing that?
Thank you, Councillor Barclay. Yes, on the table one of the report, as you can see that we are balancing this budget despite the savings and the pressures. We are balancing this budget by using 1.3 million of reserves. We will be looking at that again next week in light of the settlement. You're quite right, the volatility around the new homes bonus. We've actually budgeted for 4.2 million of new homes bonus, and that equates simplistically to 1 million a year. They usually give us 4-year settlement. So if they drop that down by a 3-year settlement, we'll have to find another million, and we'll have to readdress and look at our COVID pressures, our salary savings, our vacant post savings. We've also built in a 2% pay award, which may not come through. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. I think that there are many uncertainties, but the one certainty is that no matter what happens, we still have quite a lot of work to do. And I think if Father Christmas is visiting this Christmas, I think my Christmas present would be that he didn't ask us for another £1 million towards our budget, but we'll leave it with Santa. I think we'll know next week.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barclay. Councillor Harper Davies, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Leslie, do we have any idea of what the settlement might be, or is it just sort of finger in the air? You know, is there any expected appositions?
Simon, would you want to answer that one, please?
Yeah, yes, if I may, through you, Leader. Yeah, the settlement, there was obviously the government's autumn statement, which sort of outlined the financial settlement across the public sector. And so there are some indications from that. So the indications on that are that the new homes bonus will be less than what has been budgeted. We won't actually know until we actually get the number. So that's a bit of a negative. As Leslie said, not speaking from a staff perspective, but the fact that the government's announced a 0% public sector pay rise, although our local government pay isn't directly linked to that, it tracks it very closely. So there'll be some upside around the pay. There's also the revenue support grant, which was supposed to be phased out a couple of years ago, but that seems to be continuing. So we have no real feel for that. And then there's the element of the settlement around retention of business rates. And again, difficult to get a feel of that at the moment. So there's some things we know about, some things we're less sure about. My personal view, and I do understand this meeting's being recorded, but my personal view is that if we do well, the settlement numbers will give us about the same amount that we've budgeted for. Unfortunately, I would say there's probably more downside than upside, but again, I think the rumour is that we will know next Thursday, and after that we can react to it. Certainly revenue support grant and new homes bonus, we'd know immediately. The retention of business rates requires quite a lot of complex work to support the budget on that, so that will take us a little bit longer to understand. But obviously, as soon as we get the settlement figures, I'll be communicating that to the lead member of finance, Councillor Barclay, as and when we receive them.
Thank you, Simon. Can I just reiterate Tom's sentiments about all of the hard work, because it cannot be easy at all trying to balance these books. I just say thank you very much as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I don't think we have any further questions in the queue. So I'm going to go back to Councillor Barclay and ask for the recommendation.
I recommend our recommendations 1 and 2 on page 54 for the reason to provide the opportunity for consultation on the general fund and HRA budget for the year 2021-22.
Thank you very much. And can I ask Councillor Poland to second?
Thank you, Leader. I'm very happy to second.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm now going to go through Cabinet and ask all of you to verbally say for the proposal or otherwise. So I'm going to start by saying I am for the proposal. Councillor Barclay.
For.
Councillor Bailey.
For the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper Davies.
For, Leader.
Councillor Mercer.
I'm also for the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Poland.
For the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ratway.
And for the proposal. Thank you.
Councillor Rollings.
For the proposal, Leader.
And then finally, Councillor Sminovich.
Yes, for the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. That's agreed. Thank you very much, Leslie and Simon, for answering the questions. So we're now on to item 10, which is the capital plan amendment report. Leslie is obviously still here to answer any questions on that one. I'm going to ask Councillor Barclay to make a brief introduction.
Thank you, Leader. So this is merely an amendment to the previous capital plan. You can see that we have a capital plan of some 66,335,000. So the fact that we are under financial pressure on the general fund and HRA really doesn't impact on this. And you can see that there are various schemes within there that are still going ahead, and many that are being moved to next year are simply because they haven't been able to be carried out this year. But I would particularly note the fact that where Rothley Parish Council is getting 367,000 to upgrade the Rothley Centre, the play equipment of the Mount Sorrel Lane in Rothley is being upgraded at a cost of 31,500. Most of this has come from Section 106 money. There are various replacement, there's essential repairs to Granby Street car park. There's various upgrades on the work in the HRA for 100,000, and obviously the Bedford Square Gateway project to increase the budget by 700,000, most of which we are hoping to recover from another source. But it is an amendment report, but I think what we have got to stress here is there is a lot of work going on throughout the whole of the borough, investing despite the challenges that we face, which I would emphasise are not just unique to this council; they're all over the country. So with that, I'll just ask Leslie to add anything she feels it would be helpful.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barclay. Just a couple of things to add. Obviously, there are additions and changes to the 3-year plan. The recommendations 2 and 3 are the only two that are sort of adding and using our capital plan reserve, and that totals 31.1 thousand. The other ones are just changes, and the other ones are being funded in different ways. You'll perhaps see in there recommendation 7, the vaccination centre, the NHS are fully funding the refurb for 250,000, so that's actually gone in there. And the Bedford Square Gateway project, another 700,000, again that's being fully funded by the LEP contribution. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, good reference to the vaccination centre. Having visited the council from the outside earlier today, I have to say the work seems to be progressing extremely quickly, so it's good to see that being done. And hopefully the building will be handed over to the NHS by the end of this week, which means that they can then get on and do what they need to do, which is great. So it's lovely that we're able to actually support the NHS in this way. Are there any other comments that anyone wishes to raise? Councillor Ratray, you've got your hand up.
It's just a very quick comment. It's on the hybrid equipment, camera equipment for the virtual council meetings. I'm just really pleased to see that come forward. I think we've all been forced into these virtual meetings through COVID. It wouldn't have been something that we would have ever have done before. And actually there's a lot of benefit to them as well. So to see us actually moving that forward as a strategy for a longer term solution, I'm just really pleased to see that. So thank you.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Thank you very much. Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted a quick comment really to show that my support for this. You know, it's amazing that we're still able to invest that much money in the borough despite the financial challenges that we face, and good use of the Section 106 money. You know, it shows the strength of the council and the strength of the finances behind the scenes that we are able to reinvest in the borough to this extent. It's fantastic news.
Absolutely agree as well. Thank you very much, Councillor Bailey. Councillor Boker.
Yeah, Councillor Bailey basically took what I wanted to say, but 66 million is a huge level of investment, both in Loughborough and the rest of the borough. And there's some terrific schemes in there. So the residents should be very happy.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boker. All good points. So I haven't got any more hands up. So I'm going to go back to Councillor Barclay for the recommendation.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I think the residents were particularly pleased with the vaccination centre. I too visited from the outside the council offices this week, and work, it really is progressing well. So I think that gives hope for the future, and probably also, ironically enough, for our budget and return to normal. I like to make recommendations 1 to 9 on page 72 for the reasons 1 to 9 on page 72 and 73 of the report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Boker, would you like to second?
Yeah,
Sorry, I've got another hand up. Councillor Harper-Davies, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I've just put it in. I don't know whether it's just my papers on modern.gov, but I've just put a note in the chat. But the reasons, I don't know if it's me, but there's a duplication from 6, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 5, 6, and 7, where it says to enable the new capital scheme budget to enable.
I think that's just because they're different. They're different recommendations, but
Okay.
the reason for doing so is the same reason.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarifying.
No problems at all. Councillor Boker, do you still want a second?
Yes, very happy to second that, Leader. Some great schemes in there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to again ask everyone on Cabinet whether they are for the proposal. So I'm going to start off by saying I am for the proposal. Councillor Barclay.
For the proposal, Leader.
Okay, Councillor Bailey.
For the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
For, Leader.
Councillor Mercer.
I am for the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Poland.
Yeah, most definitely for.
Councillor Rattray.
Yes, for the proposal. Thank you.
Councillor Rollings.
For the proposal, Leader.
And then finally, Councillor Smitherich.
For the proposal, Leader.
That's great. Thank you very much. That's 10 out of 10. So that item is approved. So we now move on to amendments to the annual procurement plan 2020 to 2021, which is item 11. So we've got Justin Henry here, who's going to answer any questions that anyone has. So I'm going to start by asking Councillor Barclay whether you'd like to introduce any of the items or the item.
Thank you, Leader. We have a plan for the whole year's procurement process. We get a quarterly update. The contracts are split between 25,000 and 75,000, 75,000 and £1 up to £500,000. And these are outlined here, as is the way that we deal with them. The additional ones that are now being brought to our attention are in Appendix A and Appendix B. And it is purely an update on that and a report which keeps Cabinet informed. And that's all I will say. And I will ask Justin Henry if there's anything else he feels he would like to add.
Thank you, Councillor Barclay. You're quite right. This is a rather perfunctory report. This is a matter of governance rather than exception at this particular point. So it's for members to notice that effectively these items are being added and the relevant competitive exercises will be undertaken in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. So are there any questions? I think it's Councillor Barclay and Justin have just outlined. This is a pretty straightforward paper, hopefully. Councillor Smitherich, you've got your hand up.
Yes, please. We used to have to go out sort of quite wide to procure. I think it was called OJ. That one.
Yeah, OJ.
I think it was OEJU or something like that. But will we now, if we're out of the European market, can we confine it to sort of the UK, or would we still be going out further to procure services?
I think the majority of the legislation has been already embedded in our law. OJEU is a open journal of European Union. As you say, we are coming out, but in preparation, a lot of the legislation has been embedded in our law, as I understand it, but I'm no expert. I just asked.
Justin seems to be nodding away.
All right, that's fine. That's where we are with that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Any further questions? No further questions. Okay. Thank you very much. In that case, Councillor Berkeley, can I ask you to make a recommendation?
Yep. I make recommendations 1 and 2 on page 84 for the reason to allow the contracts of the council to be letting in accordance with the contract procedure rules.
Thank you very much. Councillor Retway, can I ask you to second?
Yes, I'm happy to second this item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm now going to go through Cabinet and ask you whether you are for the proposal. So I am for the proposal. Councillor Berkeley.
For, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
For, Leader.
Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
For, Leader.
Councillor Mercer.
For, Leader.
Councillor Poland.
For, Leader.
Councillor Ratway.
For, Leader.
Councillor Rawlings.
For, Leader.
And then finally, Councillor Sminovich.
For, Leader.
Thank you very much. That's 10 out of 10. So that item is approved. Thank you very much to Justin for the preparation of that paper. So we now move on to item 12, which is the band review council size submission. Adrian Ward, who's our head of strategic support, is here to assist. Otherwise, I'm going to make a short introduction. We are currently going through a band review carried out by the Boundary Commission. There are 2 parts effectively that we're looking at. The first is a question about the overall size of the council by councillor number. And this report addresses that specific question, which is what do we feel as an organisation, as a council, is the appropriate number of councillors to represent the residents in Charnwood. Since the original 52 councillors was set, the council has increased substantially in size and is still growing to the extent that, in fact, by 2031, so just over 10 years from now, it will be projected to be 207,000, certainly making it probably one of the largest district councils in the country, and certainly within the East Midlands. So we have, within this report, we have set out why we feel that actually 52 is still an appropriate number. We're not proposing to increase the number of councillors, but likewise, given the size of the council and given the ratio between residents and councillors, 52 still feels like an appropriate ratio to keep. So this report sets out the answer that we wish to propose to the Boundary Commission, and hopefully they will acknowledge and accept the recommendation from this council. Adrian, is there anything else that you wish to add?
Thank you, Leader. Probably just worth adding that this is a recommendation on full council in January from Cabinet, but nothing else to add.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that. So, and the report, I think, makes reference to the fact that it's conditional on full council in January approving this as well. So hopefully they will. So are there any questions? Councillor Poland.
Thank you, Lee. Just a really quick comment, actually. Reading it was, it struck me that actually, in addition to the purpose of which it should be used for, it'd be a really good document actually to show sort of prospective members before elections as to what does the council do and what's the sort of time commitment involved in it. So maybe that's something we can dig out in a few years when we're a year ahead of the elections and do the prospective councillors event.
Councillor Poland, your headset is playing up again. However, I got the gist of what you're saying, which actually this is it's a good way of setting out what we do as a council and the way that we actually operate for any new members or anyone wishing to actually stand for election. And I absolutely agree with you. It's a very clear document to read. So actually, that's you're absolutely right. Councillor Rawlings, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, more comments again, like Councillor Poland. I think it's notable that the last boundary review for Charnwood was 2002, so really quite some time ago. There's also been significant changes in Charnwood since then in terms of population, which I'm pleased has been picked up in the response that we're looking to provide, subject to full Cabinet's endorsement. But the other thing, speaking as a ward councillor, certainly this year has proved that there are times where you need to give a significant amount of your time to your role as a councillor. And in order to keep it attractive for new people coming forward in years to come, you can't make that workload unrealistic. And I think to certainly reduce the numbers of councillors would just not be acceptable. Keeping it as it is realistic, because in most larger wards, you can share the workload with other councillors. So I'm pleased that we're keeping as we are now, because we've got to be realistic and keep the prospect of becoming a councillor as attractive as it can be to people across all of the age ranges. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we have no other further hands up. So the recommendation that we have is outlined on page 90, which is the recommendations to council, recommendations 1 and 2 for the reasons given 1 and 2. So can I ask Councillor Berkeley to second?
Happy to second that, Leader.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to again go through Cabinet and ask you whether you are for the proposal. To start off with, I am for the proposal. Councillor Berkeley.
For, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Leader. For.
Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
Thank you, Leader. For.
Councillor Mercer.
For, Leader.
Councillor Poland.
For, Leader.
Councillor Ratway.
For, Leader.
Councillor Rollings.
For, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Smitovich.
Yes, for, Leader.
Thank you very much. That item is approved and will now go to full council. So thank you very much for that. Thank you very much, Adrian, for your comments as well. So item 13, urgent decisions taken. We have Karen Widdowson here to answer any questions. And I'm going to open by saying that this paper covers 2 urgent decisions that have been taken by officers on behalf of the council. One in relation to a bid for charging points, electric charging points for vehicles around the borough, and the other relates to the grant scheme that we've put in place as part of the national lockdown. Both of those are set out in the papers and hopefully are clear. I know both items were made aware to relevant councillors and to Cabinet in relation to the grant scheme in particular. So hopefully any questions are answered from the papers. But if you have any further questions, by all means, raise your hand and we'll endeavour to answer them. No hands have been raised, so paper's very, very clear, which is great. So we have a recommendation, which is, by the way, just to confirm, Councillor Ratway has actually left the room for this item, as noted under the earlier item at the beginning of the meeting. So she's not here to partake. But otherwise, the officer recommendation reason given is on the agenda, page 107. So I'm going to make that proposal and I'm going to ask Councillor Berkeley to second. Are you happy to second?
Happy to second, thanks, Leader.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm now going to go through the roll call of the remaining 9 members of Cabinet to ask whether you are for the proposal. So I am for the proposal. Councillor Berkeley.
For, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
For, Leader.
Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
For, Leader.
Councillor Mercer.
For, Leader.
Councillor Poland.
For, Leader.
Councillor Rollings.
For, Leader.
Councillor Smitovich.
For, Leader.
Thank you very much. That's 9 out of 9. So that item is approved. Councillor Ratway can now come back into the meeting. If somebody can ask her to in the chat, maybe. There we go. She's back in the meeting. There we go. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, we now move on to item 14, which is the exempt information. So propose to exclude members of the public from the meeting during the consideration of the following item on the grounds that it will involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, and it is considered that the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. So I can ask Councillor Berkeley to second this proposal.
I second the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to go through all 10 members of Cabinet to ask whether you can say whether you are for this proposal. Councillor, sorry, I'm for the proposal. Councillor Berkeley?
For, Leader.
Councillor Bailey?
For, Leader.
Councillor Boker?
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies?
For, Leader.
Councillor Mercer?
For, Leader.
Councillor Poland?
For, Leader.
Councillor Rattray?
For, Leader.
Councillor Rollings?
For, Leader.
Councillor Smitowicz?
For, Leader.
Thank you very much. That's everyone. So we are now entering the exempt item. So can I ask the Information